but this is really sad. I was really, really sad to hear about Eric Lloyd's death. And by the way, I met his wife at the Officer Shea fundraiser that I went to last month. Very, very nice lady. She came up to me. She shook my hand. She said, "Thank you for having my husband on your radio show." Really nice lady. And my heart goes out to her. So this is Eric Lloyd, sadly, who just lost his life to COVID. This is his appearance on our show, The Vegas Take, June 9th. And I asked him, what does it mean to you guys when people like me, which I do all the time, by the way, go up to police officers in public and thank them for their service? I do it all the time. Every week I do it. Here was Eric Lloyd's response. This was an appearance he did on our show June 9th.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. We do appreciate it, absolutely. And sometimes you get a little embarrassed, but we really do appreciate it, being acknowledged for the job that we're trying to do. 99% of the cops I know got into this profession to help people. That's all we want to do. We want to make their life better and do what we can to help them and their families and keep law and order. So that's our job. So we do appreciate it when we get acknowledged.
It's unbelievable. So sad. The guy just appeared on our show, and he's done so many things to help so many families, like the Shea family. A Metro police officer for 30 years, a lieutenant, and now he's dead from the coronavirus. And when I first heard this news yesterday, I was heartbroken. First of all, great guy, a hero, right? Let's just state the obvious of what he was. I mean, what can you say about a police officer who a great cop for 30 years, but who did put in so much of his time to help other police officers who have been hurt or have lost their lives? That's what this man did his entire life. And this goddamn COVID took his life. And it drives me nuts. It drives me crazy. And I really don't know what else to say. I'm just at a loss for words. I mean, we've lost over 100 police officers across the country to COVID. We've lost firemen. We've lost heroes. Whether you're an everyday person, everybody has a story, right? Everybody has a story. And now it hits home once again with Lieutenant Eric Lloyd. And again, my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his friends, who just appeared. The man just appeared on our show. And it breaks my heart. It really does. It breaks my heart. It's just terrible. So I want this to be over with. I want COVID-19 to be gone. I wish we had a vaccine. I wish we had a cure. But the reality of the situation is we don't. It is still killing people. We don't have it. And I don't want to speak for Eric Lloyd, but I can tell you right now, if we were able to speak with him today, which I wish we were, he would probably tell everyone to be responsible. But you know what? Let's talk to a man who knew him personally. Nevada Assemblyman Tom Roberts retired from Metro as an assistant sheriff back in 2018, and he was one of the first people to share the news of this tragic passing of Officer Lloyd. He said, "Rip, Eric, God bless you and your family." He said, "Honor to know you and work with you all these years. You'll be missed by so many," and he's absolutely right. And Assemblyman Tom Roberts joins us right now on the line. Mr. Roberts, I wish we could speak under better circumstances. I'm sorry for your friend's loss. How are you and the family holding up?
We're doing good. My wife and I had known Eric and his wife, for 20 years. We'd worked together off and on throughout the years and saw each other on a regular basis. But he's a good man, and let's remember him the best way we can.
Yeah, and I was just giving a little bit of history to people. Obviously, 30 years on the force, and we just had him on our show last month talking about Officer Shea and how people can help. He did so many things to help so many other people. I mean, if it's not enough already to give your 30 years of your life as a police officer serving the public, can you talk a little bit about all the wonderful things he's done for other officers that have been hurt, injured in the line of duty? Because I think it's so important to talk about that.
Well, the Injured Police Officers Fund, he's been involved in that for a long time and been the president the last few years, does so much for the families of injured police officers and the injured police officers themselves. And he and his wife have always been out in front in our community, raising money, raising funds to ensure that those people are supported in time of need. And it was a tireless effort for him. And, he did that on top of his normal job, in which he had a lot of jobs in his career, which took him out on call outs in the middle of the night, and did a number of things. But he never pulled back at the IPOF, and has always been at the forefront, raising millions of dollars for that fund.
That's incredible. Incredible, the work that he did in his life. Assemblyman, I don't want to speak for Eric Lloyd, and I'm not asking you to either, but as you know, a lot of police officers have lost their lives throughout the country because of COVID-19. We're over 150,000 people throughout the country that have died because of COVID. I'm pretty confident, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, that if we were both talking to Lieutenant Eric Lloyd right now, he would want everyone to be responsible. He would want everyone to due diligence, wear masks, and protect others. I mean, what do you say to people out there that still do not take this virus seriously? It certainly bothers me, and I would imagine it would bother you, and it would have bothered Lieutenant Eric Lloyd as well.
Well, I can't speak for Eric, and there's probably a lot of people that were closer to him than I was that could probably speak for him. But from my standpoint, as you can see, this is although it may not be very dangerous to a lot of people, the mortality rate isn't that high where anybody that gets it, is going to die from it. But as you can see, if you've got some underlying health conditions, it can be very dangerous to a lot of people. And that's why it's important. We all need to do our part to ensure that we minimize the spread and we protect ourselves and protect others and, try to get through this.
No question about it. During this time, and again, I don't want to get into politics here, but, obviously there's a lot of protest, as you know, Assemblyman, happening throughout the country, Black Lives Matter protests. I've said it time and time again on this show, and I'll say it again. Yeah, there are bad apples in any profession, but the majority of police officers, in my personal opinion, and I'm sure you will agree, are heroes. Lieutenant Eric Lloyd was no exception to that. And what I said to Eric Lloyd when he came on our show last month, and I know he appreciated it. We just played the audio before you came on. I said, when you see police officers in a restaurant, in public, on the street, wherever, and they're not busy, and maybe they're just, talking with one of their other officers, I told Eric Lloyd, I said, I love going up to officers and shaking their hands and just taking a couple seconds and say, thank you for what you do. I just want you to know we appreciate you. And Eric Lloyd's response was, well, sometimes we get a little embarrassed, but we appreciate being acknowledged. Assemblyman, don't you think that's so important that while, yes, we hate to see what happened to George Floyd, and yes, there have been some horrible situations in this country, but the majority of cops are great cops. I think we need to do more of that. It's not just police officers that need a better relationship with us. We need a better relationship with them. And I know Eric Lloyd appreciated that when I brought that up with him last month when he came on our show. Would you agree with that?
Well, I can tell you from my time, I've been retired a little over a couple years, and anytime anybody took the time out to say thank you, I can tell you it made a big difference in my day because, quite honestly, I wasn't working the streets my last few years, but I know a lot of police officers that do, and quite often, they're not met with a lot of appreciation, because they're called to a lot of things that it's people at their worst times. And they see a lot of that in society, and a lot of people aren't happy to see them in those instances, And so every once in a while, it's good to be appreciated, and I think even more so now, these men and women are out here day in, day out, protecting our communities, doing the things that we ask them to do, and there's this national sense that. That a lot of people want to pull the rug out from under them and not support them to the extent that they really need and deserve. And so, I think that's important for people to understand is when you do that, I think it will boost them for the day. Like Eric said, it might embarrass them a little bit, but in the end, it's really going to make them feel appreciated.
No question. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Nevada Assemblyman Tom Roberts, who certainly knows a little bit about policing. He retired from Metro as an assistant sheriff back in 2018. What do you make of what's going on in the country right now and the divide, Assemblyman, that we're facing here? And, where do you think we all should go as Americans moving forward? I mean, I know it's kind of a loaded question, but we do have so much divide in this country. And, yes, I do believe that we need to go up to the good law enforcement police officers in this country and thank them for what they do. But where do you see this whole thing going, and where do you see this leading to? I mean, are we going to have some serious changes? Training? Where do you see this whole thing going as someone who has the experience that you have?
Well, look, policing has been changing and reforming since its inception, right? And even since I first got in the military 36 years ago or whatever, and throughout my career, policing definitely changed, and it's been for the better. It's a professional. It's a very professional profession, and we take our careers serious. And I think a lot of folks will associate what happened in Minnesota, and then you see, other instances of this, and people believe that it is very widespread and that it's a huge problem in the United States. Are there problems? Yes, there are problems, but I think it's isolated, just as we talked about earlier. It's a very small number of police officers that engage in inappropriate behavior and activity. But for the most part, we're all good people doing a great job. You can tell in Nevada. I mean, we have come a long way in Southern Nevada with policing, and Metropolitan Police Department in particular. It is an example, the gold standard that a lot of other agencies try to emulate. And
Right.
In fact, there are the police departments that are under federal consent decree that are using the policies and procedures that we have here. And I think a lot of times people need to educate themselves on actually what is going on in their community and with their police department. And just because you see it somewhere else doesn't necessarily mean you have it here.
Yeah, agree.
Or where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Can we make improvements? Yeah, we can absolutely always do things better. And I think you'll see no other profession that's open to that than policing, because they've been doing it their entire career.
Well said, Assemblyman. And I would also add, considering Las Vegas, I'll just speak for Las Vegas for a second. I've been here 20 years. The 24/7 lifestyle, and everything that goes on in this city, I think we're pretty damn safe. Just like any other city, yes, we have areas that are not very good, and there is some crime there, but I think Metro does a pretty damn good job in keeping us all safe, and I think that's very, very important to note. If we can go back quickly here to Lieutenant Eric Lloyd and his tragic passing, how do you think people should, as your friend, how do you think people should remember Lieutenant Eric Lloyd? How would his family want him to be remembered? I mean, and how would you like him to be remembered?
Well, I mean, Eric dedicated his life to serving others, and I think that's an important aspect of him. And you look at his career and the variety of assignments that he did. Not only in policing, but what he did off duty. With the Injured Police Officers Fund, and is really a person that emulates police officers that they're really looking out for the people that can't look out for themselves. And I think Eric emulated that better than probably anybody I know. Just an absolute all-around good person, a good leader. And he was, a good peer when I worked with him. And, every job that he had on the agency, even when he was within my chain of command, I never had to second guess any decision that he made or feel uncomfortable that he was out there leading people. He's just an absolute all-around good person.
Well, Tom, let me say my condolences to you and your loss of your friend. So sorry. I wish we could speak under better circumstances, but I appreciate you taking some time to join us to talk about your friend, a true hero, Lieutenant Eric Lloyd, who tragically has lost his life to COVID-19. Assemblyman Tom Roberts, appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you letting me talk about it.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Tom.
My honor. Thank you. That's Assemblyman Tom Roberts speaking to us about his friend, Lieutenant Eric Lloyd, who served on Metro for 30 years. You just heard what Lloyd did in his life in helping so many others, injured police officers. And COVID-19, sadly, ended his life. And this is a man who, has done so many great things for this community. I truly mean it when I say this. And I talked to Eric Lloyd about this, a month ago, a little over a month ago. I said, don't you think more people should go up to police officers and thank them for what they do? Because, yes, the majority of cops are good cops. Doesn't mean there isn't bad ones out there. Doesn't mean that there needs to be changes across the board with police training, because I believe there should. But I have never said on this show that all these cops are bad cops. I have never trashed police officers. I've only gone after those specific cops, like the one who put his knee over George Floyd and others that have done similar acts. I've never made generalizations about police officers. In fact, many of the interactions I've had with police officers have been very good ones. And I'm very sad, to have to talk about this. As if talking about Officer Shea wasn't bad enough. A young kid, for all intents and purposes, who was shot in the back of the neck, who's probably going to be paralyzed for the rest of his life. And we talked to Eric Lloyd about that as he was trying to help the family. And now we have to talk about another fallen officer, this time dead because of the coronavirus. So thoughts and prayers to Eric Lloyd and his family. We appreciate everything he did for Las Vegas and for his fellow officers. Very sad.